birth that I could even put a number on. Because how can you calculate the probability of a virgin birth? I don't know how to do that. But here are some probabilities. I put down 6. The first 3, enter the temple, scepter not depart before he comes, murder children in Ramah. That all gets down to a specific year. He has to be born in a specific year. And then he has to be born in Bethlehem. And I have the dates that these prophecies are written and the book they come from. But by the way, you don't have to take any notes or anything. I'll give you copies of this after if you want. But the upper average population of Bethlehem, we know that from archaeology, that maybe 500 people in the 1st century. And a high birth rate for 500 people is 20 a year. That's high. Boy, these guys are really being productive here. So 20 a year, and half of those babies would be male, has to be a male baby. So there's about 10 babies in the entire history of the planet that could fulfill those first 4 prophecies, all right? So now we're looking for 1. So it has to be in the family line of Jesse. Well, there was about 2.5 million Jews that left Egypt. Half of them are probably men, so that's 1.25 million. So he has to be, out of all the Jews that are existing, he has to be from the line of Jesse. So I figured out, I divided by 1.25 million. And then he has to be from David. So Jesse has 6 sons, so divide that by 6. So I'm getting down to 1.3 times 10 to the minus 6 probability that one man will fulfill that. So it's not just one, like a letter gets to one person. We're talking, this is getting so small that it has to be supernatural. Less than 1 in 750,000 chance that any one man would fulfill these 6 prophecies. Think about that. Now this is just the beginning. By the way, I'm not going to go into this, but there's only 3 other facts about Jesus' life that I could actually calculate real mathematical numbers. And that's that his hands and feet were pierced, so he had to be crucified. I figured out, about how many crucifixions there were in ancient Rome, maybe 3 a day or 1,000 a year, and calculate that probability, and that the lamb, that he died exactly on Passover, so we got to divide it by 360 days a year, because he only can die in that one day. Buried in a rich man's tomb. There's 25,000 of them in Upper City, out of 600,000 people in Jerusalem at the time. So, calculate that out. We're getting down to small numbers. Actually, that number there is, I gotta change that. That's not correct on that one there. And then he's in a family tomb, a rich man's tomb, but a rich man's tomb probably would have his whole family. So let's say an average family is 4 people, so divide by 4. Well, all these things added up, real numbers that you can actually calculate. Less than 1 in 15 trillion chance that any one man could fulfill just these 9. Now, I got 40 more to go, but I'm not going to do them. And most of those are like, you can't even calculate it. How can this possibly, you can't even put a number on others. These are the ones you could kind of actually put some statistics on. As if this were not clear enough, though, God used numerous other symbolic indicators. In case you missed it, let me make it more clear. God's saying the Messiah is the bread of life. So he says, "This is my bread of life that came down from heaven." And he's talking about the man in the wilderness, referring to that. That's a foreshadowing of the bread of life coming down. Your nourishment, what you really need. I am what you really need. I'm going to come into this world, and it's born in a house of bread. By the way, Bethlehem, the town you live in, means house of bread, right? Bethlehem. And so the fact that Jesus is born in the house of bread, the bread of life is born in the house of bread, it's like, God's like, hello, and he's laid in the feeding trough. So here's the food for our life, what we really need to live is in a feeding trough. Just think about that. What are the chances of that? Well, there's just no room in the house. You got to go, but God is working, saying, here's my Savior. He's the humility of the manger coming in humility and love. His father, by the way, is in the priestly line. I'm sorry, his mother is in the priestly line. If you look in the book, I won't go into that, but the genealogy is specific in Matthew, and it talks about how The priestly line is in there, and the mother, Mary, her father is actually going to the temple, and so he's in the priestly line of Aaron. So Jesus is not only, he's a priest. He could be a priest, so he's fulfilling that ability to go into the temple to offer a sacrifice for the forgiveness of sins. He fulfills that office. If that's not enough, he's also in the royal line. He's in the line of kings. He's a priest. He's a king. God's, as if that isn't enough, he's a light to the Gentiles. And a star appears to the Magi. The Magi are Gentiles. They're not Jews. They're coming from 1,000 miles away. So this is a pointer. Guess what? He's a light to the Gentiles, to the whole world, not just the Jews. The angels announce to shepherds. Well, this is God announcing to the lowly. He loves the weak and the powerless. And he is also the good shepherd. Born when lambs are born. This is really interesting because most people think maybe, well, he was born on December 25th, but actually he was born in the month, probably most likely in the month of Nisan, because the shepherds are out in the fields by night watching their flocks. Why are they doing that? Shepherds they don't stay overnight in the fields with their sheep, except for the time of year when the lambs are born. And it gets cold in Jerusalem in the winter time, just like it does here. It's not as cold as here, but it gets cold. Sometimes it snows even. So they would have, the lambs are always born in the spring, March, about March or so. But on the Jewish calendar, this is the first month of their year, the month of Nisan. Jesus was probably born in that year. Another sign, Lamb of God, born when the lambs are born. You need a Dick and Jane, he flees to Egypt and returns. So that's paralleling the Israelites and their suffering and stuff, that he's going the same route as Israel is, to flee to Egypt and then to return. Seed of a woman will crush Satan's head. So that's from the book of Genesis. It has to be just from a woman, the seed of a woman, rather than, we usually talk about the seed of a man, the sperm, right, fertilizing egg, but Genesis is talking about the seed of a woman, and so here he is fulfilling that. Frankincense. Why frankincense? Well, that's what the priests use in the temple. It's pointing to and signifying that he is the high priest. And gold, that's about nobility, also the riches of heaven, a king, signifying that. Myrrh is pure perfume, but it's also an embalming. It's also used for embalming the dead. So it's pointing to, it's presaging his death on the cross. His own don't know him, but wise men seek him. So his own people don't generally recognize him, but it's the wise men and the lowly and the shepherds. And as if that's not enough, just the symbol of a new birth as God enters a human being. God enters as a human being is symbolic of new birth. God is saying, I'm telling you, you can have a new birth. You can start over. I can come. I will come. I will come. I will come to you, and I will come and enter you. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. This is really the main reason why Jesus came. God came to our wavelength. He shared our struggles with temptation, the sin that's around us, dependence, and suffering. He suffered. But just think about this. A little baby, who's more dependent than a little baby? Nobody. And yet God understands. So if you don't think God understands, no, he came. He walked around just in human skin, just as you and I do. He suffered. He faced everything that we face. He faced betrayal. He faced feeling powerless. He faced all that you face. And to live a sinless life that Adam, the first man, and all of us have it as an example to us, because none of us have lived a sinless life. I don't know about you, but have you ever lied? Let's just take one commandment. Ever? How many times you lie in your life? Big, not me. I can't fulfill that role, but he came and he never lied. He never did anything wrong. But also to rescue us from the real bondage. The Jews were thinking the bondage of the Roman Empire, the bondage of oppression, but the real bondage is our own sinfulness. and to pay the price in our place to die for us. That's why he came. If we open the door of our hearts, surrender our lives to him, he will enter us, just like he came into that manger, that humble, broken down manger. He will come into our humble, broken hearts. And he will forgive us and give us the power to overcome our own sinful nature. He will transform us. That's why he came. So what does the Christmas story mean for us today? It means there is nothing that God doesn't personally understand about your life. He lived it. It means you can be transformed by him into a new person, a new birth, a new life. You can be born. You can be reborn. Then your life is no longer about this world. It's no longer about these things that are all passing away. I've had 2 friends die this year, just this year. This life is short, passes away. But he says you can be born from above about things that don't pass away, about a kingdom that is coming. Jesus said, my kingdom's not of this world. That's what Herod misunderstood. He thought he was going to bump him off the throne. But no, Jesus said, my kingdom's not of this world. It's a supernatural kingdom. You can have the same joy the shepherds and then the Magi knew in the very presence of God as they worshipped him in that manger. You can have the same joy that they have. It's offered to you. So, and Jesus is coming back. He came the first time as a baby, dependent, humble. He's going to come back, though, and on the clouds of heaven. There's various verses there when he comes back. And he is going to ride a war horse. He's going to destroy his enemies. You ever wonder why are the bad things happening? Why are these people getting away with that? Why does ISIS keep doing this? Why does it? Well, God is patient, but he's going to come back and he is going to destroy his enemies and he's going to judge